This podcast is brought to you by The Healthy Hub.
Excuse me.
Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Just to Kick It Is a Blessing podcast with your host, Keith Tupac Gatiramu. Thank you for coming in on another day just to tune with me and vibe with me and just to listen to what we have to share today, So without any further ado, I will let my guest introduce himself.
My name is Collins. I'm 25, and I deal with fashion.
Yeah, man. That's what we're both wearing today, man. Tell us about TDC, bro. How's it been, man? When was it started? Who owns it?
TDC, it stands for True Denim Collection.
Yeah.
It initially started in 2017.
Yeah.
So it's been on a 4-year journey. India, basically, we deal with denim jackets. We customize, and then, more or less. But now we're into manufacturing. Initially, we used to thrift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So, like the one you're wearing right now, that's purely stitched and made by you guys.
Yeah.
It looks nice, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm definitely waiting for the collection, And to you guys listening out there, remember it's important that we all support Kenya brands, Buy Kenya, build Kenya, guys. So please, yeah.
Buy Kenya, build Kenya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we go into today's topic, I just want to put a disclaimer out there. It addresses a few things. So for those who might feel a certain type of way, kindly just know. But yeah, tell us about your story. First of all, I came across your story on LinkedIn, and I saw and I thought it was a very powerful, story to share.
Yeah.
And so first of all, before even we get to that, how many siblings are you?
We were 5 kids.
Yeah.
So first one is my sister Faith.
Yeah.
Second one my brother Jeff.
Yes.
Third one my other sister Diana, then Evans, and then me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
5.
Yeah, and just so the guests and the people listening out there know what we're talking about, like 1 or 2 years ago, you unfortunately lost your brother.
To this year.
This year. Wow.
Yeah.
I thought it was last year. I'm sorry about that. But
June.
yeah, just tell us about it.
We suicide. Died through suicide.
Yeah.
June.
Yeah. Well, could you elaborate a bit about on that? So what happened, or
He hung himself.
I'm so sorry about that. Yeah. And who was the first person to find him or anything?
It was one of our workers in the compound.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my mom woke up.
Yeah.
One day. She was trying to find my bro. Then so she more or less told the groundskeeper to just check around what was happening. Then he found him, notified now my dad. Yeah, that was more or less what happened.
And how old was your brother this age when all this was happening?
He was born in 1990, so he just turned 31.
So he's 31. So he was older than you?
Yeah, 6 years.
6 years older than you, yeah? And what kind of connection did you two have as siblings?
I guess because we more or less grew together, from way back in terms of primary, secondary, and all through. He was more or less the closest sibling. So we were, ideally when we were younger,
Yeah.
we were closer. Then as time moved by, we went into campus. When I was in high school, we'd often talk. So I guess I was the most closest
To him.
to him to some degree, especially throughout the later years. He really influenced a big part of my life, actually.
Yeah, and when you talk about influence, what kind of influence do you mean?
Ideally, in most relationships, the younger siblings learns a lot more from the siblings than even from the folks. Of course, there's what you learn from your parents for sure. But then, ideally, from the more personal details for life in terms of like relationships, people like romantic relationships and some of the sorts, or even like business insight and ideas.
Yeah.
You get to have those like conversations more so with your siblings and your folks. So yeah, he had a lot of influence, especially in my own like social setting and social behaviors.
Yeah.
To some degree, you know. So yeah, he actually took me like going out the first time.
Yeah.
Was with my bro. So yeah.
I think like also, for me being an older brother, I think even like I think the first time any of my brothers went out or anything,
Yeah.
was with me and everything.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like before we even get more into the story, what's the one biggest lesson you think he taught you?
I guess it's more so to be my own person, like not to be influenced with, like not to be afraid to express yourself.
Yeah.
If you have an idea, if you have especially for someone like me who decided to do something like business as opposed to now formal employment and all that.
Yeah.
Just that expressing yourself and staying true to what you believe in.
Yeah.
That was a big thing.
All right.
And
Yeah. So now back to your story. Yeah. So how did you find out, and what was your first reaction when you found out?
So I was working at the time. Then my older brother,
Yeah.
the second one, came through to my place. He broke down the news. You know, the first thing there's some things that don't register the first time you hear them. You're like, So I was like, yo, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to like clarify a few times, and I broke down for like about an hour before it actually sank in. But yeah, that was more or less how it was broken down to me.
Yeah. And like looking back at it, do you think there were like signs or like things that were happening that you might have sort of missed? Because for me personally, I've also like lost one of my closest friends to to suicide. And when I look back, like there was like shift in behavior and change that kind of made me realize that this person was going through something. But at that point, because it was the first time something like that had ever happened to us, we never got the chance to kind of register it or something.
Yeah, definitely, because he had schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Like you could tell, like from his own emotions and everything, that of course it's something that's off, but you never really think of it to that degree. So, and we were really trying as a family to help with the whole situation in terms of even hospital and everything, like the whole care. So yeah, there's some things that maybe here and there, like some words, some conversations that you realize something, but you never really think it would go to that degree. And every day you're trying to improve on the situation, make it less and less harder. So you never really think it could reach that point.
Yeah. You've mentioned that your brother had, schizophrenia, like when did you guys, first find out? And also how was it growing up with someone with schizophrenia?
We found out like when he was 25, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Because I was doing my KCC at the time. I was in Form 4 at the time. I remember it specifically because I remember I was preparing for KCC when we found out. So yeah, initially it was hard because it was something we don't know how to deal with it. But the more and more attempts we tried in terms of getting him care, hospital and all that, we now found out that it was schizophrenia that he was going through. And then now just learning how to deal with it in terms of making sure he has medication, checking up on him, just the whole thing. Another thing about schizophrenia, sometimes there's relapses here and there. So
Yeah.
there would be episodes sometimes, especially depending on like triggers here and there. So with time, I guess it's just like any other illness that someone would have. With time, as a family, you more and more, you more or
Understand.
less understand how it's going to be managed. You understand the whole thing, the whole care system. Because at the end of the day, the two most important things for someone who will be dealing with mental illness is support from the people around you,
Yeah.
in terms of your immediate family and friends, and also the regular treatment, like your medication, taking it on time, and having like therapy and stuff. So yeah, with time as a family, we learned how to deal with it.
Yeah, and I asked you about like your first reaction to what happened, and so there's usually like the first reaction when you kind of register stuff, and then now when you came to terms with it, how did you feel at like that exact moment?
Um, Coming to terms, it took some time. It still hasn't. It's still fresh. Like, of course, even the after effects in terms of like how it affects the family, my parents and like my siblings, and just seeing what they're going through also. So there's also more than just what you're going through yourself. It's all the people around you. Coming to terms, it's hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard. It's hard. Some days are easy.
Yeah.
Some days are hard. Like, you find there's a day you can actually go like almost half the day not think about it. And then there's a day you can just go through something like maybe like your phone, you see something that reminds you of that, then you kind of break down from that. So it's a process. Like, grieving it's an everyday journey until, I guess, until it's less painful to some degree, but it's a day-to-day journey for sure.
And what are you doing as you, Collins, to deal with the whole process? Because there's a lot of ways that people deal with grief. Some people decide to take it or head on. Some people run away from it. You, as Collins, what are you doing to deal with it?
Um, like mostly friends. Like, I have a couple of people that I talk to about it whenever I'm in the motions.
Yeah.
So that helps for sure. I did like therapy some time back.
Yeah.
Just to more or less speak about the whole grieving process and how to like maneuver through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a day-to-day thing, like one day at a time.
Can you tell us a bit about what you learned through therapy? Because like a lot of people have this
Yeah.
notion for not going to therapy or therapy and this, and that's one of the notions I'm trying to break in this podcast, that therapy is good. Like, even I read like actually a tweet the other day saying that therapy is not only for people that are going through something wrong. Therapy could be for people who are exactly okay and want to maintain that okayness in their life. So
Yeah.
like, what's one of the important things you learned?
Um, I guess the most important thing for me
Yeah.
was identifying like the different stages of grief. So it kind of helps you know where you're at a certain point in time. So let me see if I can remember. So initially there's
I think denial.
I think there's shock, denial. I don't remember them in
Yeah.
order, but there's denial, of course, there's acceptance, there's depression. Um yeah, but more or less. Learning that kind of helped me see where I'm at a given point in time, so that I know what I can do, so I can be in a much better mind state, rather,
Yeah.
mindset.
And the whole, like, you coming and going through therapy, because I've also been through therapy, and
Yeah.
would you say it was beneficial to your life?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it helps speaking about it
Yeah.
with someone. It you kind of even sometimes realize things that you hadn't thought about. It helps you work through it mentally, rather than don't just try doing it mentally. It kind of helps you work through it in your mind. So yeah, definitely speaking about it helps.
Yeah. And how's it been speaking to your friends and everything? Because there's always this notion that men should stay strong, men shouldn't cry, 1 2 3. How's that?
Yeah, I feel like as a community, like as a society,
Yeah.
we've kind of been socialized and sensitized to these things right now.
Yeah.
It's not as hard as it was like years back to actually like have certain emotions and stuff. So yeah, like my friends have been supportive.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like your boy is always there for you. If things are wrong, your boy is always there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now that you've actually brought like society into the picture, I just want to ask you, like, when you went through what you went as a family, did you see a difference between how the female side grieved from the male side in your family? Because you said you have a couple sisters, brothers, and even within your parents.
Definitely. Like my sisters are very vocal about what they're feeling.
Yeah.
And they know what they're feeling. For guys, it's they just continue with whatever is happening. Sometimes you can just see it from the whole vibe.
Yeah.
Like it's a bit more like some topics are sensitive, of course. But yeah, for my older bro, for him it also hit him really hard
Yeah.
because like I said, the gap between me and my bro that passed was 6 years.
Yeah.
The gap between me and that one is 11.
Yeah.
So the gap between them was like 5. So my relationship with my bro that passed was more or less a relationship that he had with my bro.
Yeah.
So even for him, you could see how it really affected him. But yeah, like there's of course a difference, but yeah,
Yeah.
dealing with it.
At any one time, did you go through like substance abuse to run away from what you felt?
Definitely. From the start, from the get go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really avoiding thinking about it for sure because it's a very sensitive topic for sure. So initially, I used to drink a lot.
Yeah.
Like the first 2 weeks, I used to drink a lot. Yeah, sometimes when it would really, I'd be really in the motions, same thing. But yeah, it's a work in progress.
Yeah, and I know it's kind of tough because, like, even for me when I went through what I had to go through, like,
Yeah.
one thing I picked up at that point of my life, which I even stopped, was smoking. Like I started smoking because I thought it was a way to, to run away from, what I was feeling at, that exact, point of time. And then once the high or whatever it is you're chasing ends, you kind of realize, you come back to, reality. Did you ever like, feel like that?
Yeah, because like I said, the first 2 weeks it was like that. It was a period of drinking. But yeah, like now after now it was serious when we finally had the funeral done, and now it was time to get back to work. And then you realize that life goes on. Like as much as these things happen, you find that work is still need to be done. Work is still needed to be done. Activities continue. So now when you get back into the routine, now you start dealing with it slowly.
Yeah. There's a lot that's said, like, around like suicide and everything, and some people think it's selfish or something like that. Do you ever feel like you're angry at your brother or he was selfish or anything?
Not really.
Yeah.
Because yeah, he was going through a lot. Like it wasn't an easy 6 years
Yeah.
after finding out schizophrenia in life. It's hard to just coexist. It was hard. It was hard 6 years. So there's no anger towards him for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And do you feel angry at yourself?
There are times, yeah, you feel that way, especially when you start thinking back about like being more available or, like even just because you get to appreciate now the importance of time with someone.
Yeah.
Even just a phone call, even just a text, even just that spending time with someone, you get to appreciate that more. So of course, there are some moments whereby maybe I could have spent time with him, but I had things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, the moments you're like, yeah. But at the end of the day, mm, I appreciate the years I had with him.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing that I'm grateful for. There's a lot that I learned from him, and there's a lot that, and I guess that he'll always be alive in my mind, my memories, even the things that I've learned from him. So yeah, I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah. You said you've been able to have a couple conversations with your friends here and there. Um, have you also been able to have the same kind of conversations with your family? Because sometimes I feel like a lot of us, it's easier to talk to other people than the people that are there connected within us.
Yeah, more so the firstborn sister.
Yeah.
Even for her, it hit her really hard. So we usually speak often, like at least once a week. I make sure to give her a call and just see where she's at in terms of mental space, emotional space. So yeah, we do have those kinds of conversations. Sometimes so also with my bro. So yeah.
And what about your parents?
Mm, my mom, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad, not yet. It's still a bit of a touchy subject for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, a few. My dad is like passing, like it can be just a sentence, but it's never really in depth.
Conversation, yeah.
Yeah.
And now that you've been through all this, like what advice would you give a family that has someone going through mental health?
Um, like like I said a while back, the two most important things for someone who's going through a mental illness is the social support in terms of like the family and friends.
Yeah.
Just being there, checking up, and assisting with the treatment, like in terms of like medications, making sure they take the pills at the right time, checking if the smallest, because it's a lifetime thing.
Yeah.
It has, of course, waves. Sometimes it was, sometimes not, just like any other illness. But the social support and the treatment, I think, with that, it can really go a long way.
Yeah. And what advice like do you give or would you give, someone who's, lost a loved one recently, and is wondering how to deal with 1, 2, 3, 4.
Like for us, what helped,
Yeah.
we've kind of become closer.
Yeah.
So it's made us realize that we need to check up on each other as often as we can. So I think that's it. As a family, just find a way to not let that loss tear you guys apart.
Yeah.
If anything, it should bring you guys closer.
Yeah.
So I think social support goes a long way.
Yeah.
People around you really matter.
Yeah. Right. And as we come to the end of this podcast, I usually ask my guests 2 questions. So the first question is, what advice would you give a younger you? If you had the chance to speak to a younger Collins, what would you tell him?
Yeah, family is important, definitely. But keep doing what you're doing business-wise.
Yeah. And if you had the chance to speak to an older Collins, what would you tell him? Or, what are you telling your future self as you sit there?
I never really thought of that, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe I hope it's easier on the other side.
Yeah.
Like I hope life should be so much easier. Like when you're older.
Yeah.
Like I feel like when you're younger, you really need to put in the work.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to let down an older Collins. So I really have to put in the work.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And as we come to a close, do you have anything else you'd like to share? Anything that's inspired you? Just even, it doesn't have to be what we've talked about. Just anything at all.
For now, no, I'm good.
Yeah. Bro, I really appreciate you coming today and sharing your story with us. It's a very tough story to talk about. Losing someone. But bro, I wish you all the best. All the best with your company, all the best with life and everything. And yeah, thank you so much, bro.
Thank you for having me.
All right. For those of you guys tuning from home, thank you so much for listening, watching. I hope you learned something from today's episode. Remember, just to kick it is a blessing. See you next week. Goodbye.